Helsa, yesterday I did a post in which I made the statement that I do not have time for weak-minded people. And there was a few comments on the actual post on Facebook, but I received a lot of messages through Messenger about that particular post. And the first thing I would like to say is that that post was not in reference to those individuals who have clinical mental illness or something like that. I do understand that there is brothers and sisters that deal with depression. They deal with anxiety. Some of them are even suicidal. So my comment was not necessarily based towards them. My comment was based upon those individuals who refuse to man up or woman up to the mistakes that they have made. They refuse to acknowledge the fact that in many cases, the situation that they find themselves in are situations that they created. And I made another post in which I made the statement that those brothers and sisters who are unwilling or unable to change the conditions that they find themselves in, or to fight against the forces that are putting them in that situation, that if they're wearing hammers, they need to take them off. That seemed to spark, I guess, a fire, so to speak, because there were some people that wasn't happy with me saying that. First of all, let me say that I stand on what I said. I don't back down from that. And the reason why I don't back down from it is because as Odinist, Wotanist, or Asatru, when we place the hammer, if you wear a hammer around your neck, I personally wear an Eye of Odin because the god Wotan is my Patreon. But if you're wearing a hammer or even a Valknut or a particular rune or an Eye of Odin, if you're wearing these, when you place them around your neck or you tattoo these on your body, what you're saying is that you're willing to live up to what this stuff represents. And the person or the people that I was referring to are those people who wear hammers. They're always posting about that the gods this, the goddesses that, our ancestors this, our ancestors that. But yet, all they do is cry about the situation that they find themselves in. When we put these types of stuff around our necks or tattoo them on our body, what we're saying is that we're willing to live according to that. We're willing to struggle to reach that goal. And I would like to be the first to tell people, as I have always said in the past, and I stand by it, our way of life, it doesn't matter if you call yourself a Wotanist or you call yourself an Odinist or a follower of Asatru. It doesn't matter. Our way of life is not easy. We're not Christians. We're not Buddhists. We're not Muslims. We can't pray and everything is taken away. Our way of life is about struggle. It's about struggling from within. It's about struggling within our families. It's about struggling with the tribes. It's about struggling with society. It's all about struggling. This is what we embraced. We didn't embrace a passive religion or a passive way of life. We didn't embrace a necessarily forgiving way of life. What we embraced was a way of life that makes us have to stand on our own 2 feet and first look at our life, look at ourself, and see what is it about myself that I don't like? What is it about myself that is a weakness? And once we have identified that, once we have recognized what it is, then we begin to take the necessary steps to eliminate these devices that we have, or these forces that seem to hold us back. This is what the hammer represents. When you study the history of the hammer and you look at its runic meaning, excuse me, or you look at its definition, it represents chaos and destruction, but it also represents new beginnings. So if we're wearing these things, we need to try or attempt to live by what they represent. And all this, and I'm just going to be blunt with this, all this crying about my life is this, my life is that, nobody loves me, everybody hates me. It reminds me of the old Child's thing that we used to say, nobody likes me, everybody hates me, I'm going to eat some worms. Well, it's like at some point in time, we have to grow up. We have to realize that many of the problems that we find ourselves in was brought about and created by our own hands. I sit back and listen to people. And as most know, I always use my personal life as an example. I am 51 years old. I spent more time in prison than what I have spent alive on the street. My daughter was born in 1994. I didn't come home until 2014. My daughter's gone. I didn't cry about my life. I didn't cry about being a bad father. What I did is I came home and I acknowledged what I did. I acknowledged the fact that I made a lot of mistakes in my life. I acknowledged the fact that in order for me to have a relationship with my wife, my son, my daughter, I had to change things within my life, and I had to do that drastically. So I made those decisions. I did everything I could to make things right. And to this day, even though I went back for another 4 years, I still understood that everything that happened to me was because of a decision that I made in my personal life, and I let a lot of people down. But as the brothers and sisters who are close to me knows, when I came home this time, I reached out to them. I apologized to them. I've tried and successfully built relationships with them and let them know that, I'm not that person no more. I'm going to do everything I have to do, even if I have to work 15 to 16 hours a day with 2 hours of sleep, and I have to beg my kids to forgive me for what I did. Fortunately, I didn't have to do that. But I acknowledge what I did. I am a wokenist. I acknowledge the fact that I made mistakes. And just like I made the acknowledgement that I made mistakes, I made the acknowledgement that I had to correct those mistakes, and I had to become the man and the father that my wife deserved and that my kids deserved. I don't blame nobody for my failures. I don't cry to nobody for that. I man up. I face my struggles. and I correct them. Why? Because I am a wokenist. Every minute, every hour, every week, every month, every year, I'm supposed to be struggling to overcome the physical aspects of myself and to become the conscious man, or as Ron McVan and them talk about, the Superman. I have to tap into my Haminya and begin to acknowledge that, yes, I made mistakes. But you know what? Just like I'm a man that I can admit my mistakes, I'm also the man that can admit that I will do everything I have to make everything right. Am I saying that it will be easy? No. It's not easy. Life's not easy. Our path is not easy. This is why I say it all the time. Some people really need to ask themselves why they even became Odinist and Wokenist or Asatru to begin with. Because if you're not willing to first battle against yourself, then you're not willing to battle against anything. If you're not willing to face who you are or the man and woman that you are and change those things that has put you in the position that you are in, please let me be the first to tell you, you are not even fit to be amongst a kindred or a tribe, because how can you fight and make kindreds and tribes better when you can't even begin to fight and make yourself better? And I know this video will probably piss a lot of people off, but as most people know, I really don't care. Because when I compare my life and what I went through to what a lot of I see on Facebook, brothers and sisters are going through, I'm sorry, but you don't even begin to compare to what I went through. And I know that I am a much better man because I surrounded myself with brothers and sisters who tell me, and I'm going to be blunt, who tell me about my ass when I'm doing what I'm not supposed to be doing. So I still stand by my post. I have no time for weak-minded brothers and sisters. You want to be weak? You don't want to deal with adversity? You don't want to change who you are? Let me be blunt once again. Find another way of life, because our ancestors wasn't soft. Our ancestors wasn't that weak. Our gods and goddesses, they're not that weak. Change the condition that you find yourself in. You have the ability to do that. But first, you have to quit crying about your life and the decisions that were made probably by you that put you in that decision. Because as an old wise man once said, there's nothing outside of man greater than himself. And there's nothing outside of man that he should fear outside of himself. You are your worst enemy. So, I stand by my post. I don't back down from it. It is what it is. Some of y'all who messaged me got really upset about it, saying that I wasn't being sensitive to other people. Well, first of all, I don't follow a way of life that's sensitive. I follow a way of life that was followed by warriors. And they don't have to be warriors within the shield wall thing. They don't have to be like that. But these were men and women who left their homes to go establish new lands, new places, and we're all benefactors of that. So if you wear a hammer, you wear an Eye of Odin, you have a Valknut tattooed on you, live by that. You put that on there because you were willing to do that. You were willing to make the ultimate sacrifices to become the men and women that you were meant to be. And before I go, let me say this. And if I lose friends over this, so what? I really don't care. Facebook is social media. It's not a place for you to air out your personal feelings. It's not a place for you to get on there and say, oh, well, my life ain't no good. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I mean, what are you doing? Seeking attention or something? Because the men and women that I know, our ancestors, and the men and women that I know today, man, they face their battles head on. No matter how they have to do it, they face it. They live with it. They change their conditions. And if you really want to change your condition, there's plenty of brothers and sisters out there that'll help you do that. They'll help you. They're willing to help you. But they won't hold your freaking hand. They won't babysit you. But they will help you. With that said, as I always say, hold the heathen hammer high. And I'll add one more part to that. Live by what that hammer represents. When you put that hammer on, you make sure that you're willing, or that eye of Odin, you make sure that you're willing to live by that. If you're not, don't put it on. Don't put it on. It's not a fashion statement. And as always, fuck their world. Quit worrying about what everybody else has to say. They talk about me all the time. Oh, he's a white supremacist. Oh, he thinks he knows it all. They talk about me all the time. And for those people that know me, they know I do not care. I don't care what people have to say about me. Cattle die, kinsmen die. The one thing I know that never dies is a man's reputation. As long as I die with a good reputation, and that reputation is that Kondo took care of his family. Kondo took care of his kids. Kondo helped his kinsmen, his kinswoman, helped them to become what they were meant to be. Kondo took care of his tribe. He helped progress them. Kondo was an example for his kinsmen, his tribesmen, his race. As long as I die with that type of love, man, I don't give a, and excuse me for what I'm fixing to say, I don't give a fuck what nobody else has to say. With that, fuck their world, man. Build your own. Live your own. And as always, Hellsong.